Today, I wrote a letter to Canada's Lobbying Commissioner after reviewing the situation of Justin Trudeau's appointment of his new de facto Finance Minister, Mark Carbon Tax Carney. Look, this is incredibly concerning when we've seen what happened in the hours after Justin Trudeau appointed Mr. Carney to this position. We saw that Mr. Carney's self-described good friend, the head of Telesat, received a $2+ billion loan. We've seen the announcement of discussions that Brookfield, Mark Carney's, the company that he's the chair of, now being able to enter into discussions with the federal government for a $50 billion pension scheme, so giving them access to more than 10 billion Canadian pension dollars. And we know that changes to mortgage rules with Brookfield owning Canada's largest private mortgage insurer is going to benefit that company, and that's reflected, of course, in the 6-month stock price high that was seen following that announcement. Now, we've asked the Liberals these questions. We've asked if this has been reviewed by the Lobbying Commissioner, and at the Ethics Committee, we've asked for Mr. Carney to appear at committee. And we'll be taking up that matter again today because the Liberals would not let it pass during previous discussions. And so perhaps today they will allow for some transparency to happen and for Mr. Carney to be called to testify at the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics. But for now, we're going to look to an independent officer of Parliament, Canada's Commissioner of Lobbying, to review these allegations and other that are outlined in my letter.
So we have asked the Liberals if they cleared Mr. Carney's appointment and fundraising for the Liberal Party with the Lobbyist Commissioner, and they haven't answered. The Office of the Lobbying Commissioner and the Lobbying Act was put in place to address a major influence scandal of the last Liberal government. And frankly, this new situation stinks. The head of a $1 trillion everything corporation having unfettered access to Liberal cabinet ministers while fundraising for their party, while his company reportedly asked for billions of tax dollars. The Office of the Lobbying Commissioner, it exists for a reason, and we've asked her to look into the situation because there's a lot to suggest that she should.
Après 9 ans de ce gouvernement libéral, la corruption semble devenir une monnaie courante au sein de ce gouvernement. On l'a vu aujourd'hui, la Chambre est paralysée pour 2 questions de privilèges parce que le gouvernement enfreint les règles à plusieurs reprises. Et aujourd'hui, mon collègue a écrit à la commissaire aux lobbyistes pour faire toute la lumière sur les relations qui existent entre Mark Carney, le ministre des Finances fantôme du gouvernement Trudeau, et son gouvernement. On sait que M. Carney a été nommé grand chef pour conseiller M. Trudeau sur les questions financières, au même moment où sa compagnie demande des milliards de dollars au gouvernement. On pense que la commissaire au lobbying doit faire toute la lumière. On a demandé aux libéraux si des questions avaient été posées à la commissaire concernant ce dossier, ce conflit d'intérêts qui nous apparaît flagrant à première vue. Les libéraux ont refusé de répondre et les libéraux ont tout fait pour tenter d'empêcher Mark Carney de paraître et de témoigner en comité. Donc, aujourd'hui, on va continuer. On a écrit à la commissaire aux lobbyistes pour faire toute la lumière sur cette relation entre Mark Carney et le gouvernement libéral. On sait qu'un conflit d'intérêts, c'est quand tu peux avoir accès facilement à des ministres et que ces ministres se sentent un peu redevables. Alors, si M. Carney fait des levées de fonds, du financement pour les libéraux, on peut s'attendre à ce que les libéraux soient contents et soient donc redevables à M. Carney de faire ce financement-là. Donc, c'est un des aspects que devra éclairer les Canadiens, la commissaire aux lobbyistes. Merci.
Do you have any evidence that he actually does lobbying for Brookfield, Frank? Because that's the key determinant. As you know, there's a certain rule for percentage of your time that you spend lobbying that triggers the rules, right?
Yeah, and this is exactly the kind of question that, of course, the government's had the opportunity to provide an answer to up to this point. They have failed to be transparent, and so this is why it's going to be reviewed by the independent officer of Parliament, so she can apply the test that you described and determine if there's been a contravention of the Act. But this transparency is important. Look, after 9 years of Justin Trudeau and his NDP Liberal government, we've seen the disregard that they have for the rules that are enforced by our independent officers of Parliament, like the Ethics Commissioner, as an example, with the Prime Minister twice being found guilty of breaking ethics laws himself. We see that they place these rules to the side when making their decisions, and that's why it's important that we have an independent review of it by the Lobbying Commissioner.
Do you think that as we're taking over all of the oxygen in the House, that there is good work being done right behind you?
Look, the House is seized with multiple issues of Liberal corruption that actually don't even include the issue that we've raised today, this latest issue. But the most recent one to seize the House, that's one caused by the Liberals allowing for hundreds of millions of dollars in dozens of conflicts of interest to flow inappropriately to Liberal insiders under a Liberal-appointed chair who was found guilty of breaking Canada's Conflict of Interest Act. A majority of members of the House of Commons did vote ordering the government to turn over its documents to the RCMP so that they can review them and take appropriate decisions. But the government is in violation of that order as ruled by the Speaker of the House, and that matter can be dispensed with very quickly. The government simply has to follow the order of a majority of members that were democratically elected to the House of Commons, which they're not doing right now. The other, of course, the other issue that is yet to be dealt with in the House is that of the other Randy saga, where we have the minister from Edmonton Centre, Justin Trudeau's Liberal minister from Edmonton Centre, Randy Boissonnault, his business partner who he was continuing to do business with, or there's evidence that, contrary to what Mr. Boissonnault claims, that he was continuing to direct his business that he had a 50% stake in while he was serving in Justin Trudeau's cabinet. His business partner, the Speaker ruled, did not provide the evidence and information that was requested him by a parliamentary committee. And it's very simple. Well, the key question was, who is the other Randy? Because the allegation that's been made by some is that it's Justin Trudeau's minister from Edmonton. We need clarity on that, because directing one's business from the cabinet table, of course, is a contravention of the law. And it's also inappropriate that that company, well, Mr. Boissonnault owned 50%, would have been receiving contracts from the Government of Canada, which we learned through a belated release of information from Elections Canada. So these are issues dealing with Liberal corruption that have seized the House, and they're effectively obstructing their own agenda, their own productivity. They can't get out of their own way. And this matter is one that hopefully we can get some sunshine on, so as to disinfect it and restore Canadians' confidence.
Yesterday, the Conservative MPs voted in favour of a block motion calling for new seniors' benefits that would have the impact, if implemented, of giving $3 billion a year more to seniors. Does that mean that the Conservatives are promising to implement that if you form government?
Look, the number one thing that we've been talking about every day, and we're going to talk about it again today in just a few moments, and that's that the economic misery that's been caused by 9 years of Justin Trudeau and his NDP Liberal government, their inflationary spending is having the effect of vaporizing the savings, the pensions of Canadians. Canadian seniors are now using food banks in record numbers. The best way that we can address that in the shortest order is what we've committed to do, and that's to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. And the only way we can do that is by having a carbon tax election, so a common-sense Conservative government can save Canadians from the economic vandalism being perpetrated by Justin Trudeau. Thanks very much for your questions. Thank you.